sure everyone is on board on implementing it. Because you can write all the great laws that you want, but unless there's implementation, it's just a good novel.
Here we are in South Cle Elum, Roslyn Cemetery, and this is the final resting place for Doug Monroe. An incredible American hero, young man in the United States Coast Guard, received the Congressional Medal of Honor. I just can't say enough things about him. Talk about bravery. The Marines were landing at Guadalcanal. Doug was ferrying them ashore in the landing craft. The mission did not go well. The Japanese enemy had fortified the beach much beyond our capabilities, and the Marines had to turn around to try to get off the beach. As they did, they were being mowed down in the water by the Japanese machine gunners. Doug ran his landing craft between the machine gunners and the Marines to save their lives. He gave his own life to save the Marines in the water. He received the Congressional Medal of Honor posthumously, and he truly is an American hero. How lucky we are, how fortunate we are, how blessed we are that we have young men and young women in this state who are willing to put their lives on the line for America. Doug Monroe was one of those people. I have incredible respect for him. We stop here frequently to leave flowers at his grave. This truly is one of my favorite places. Today we're on the shores of the mighty Columbia River near the town of Brewster, Washington. This was the original site of Fort Okanagan, the first American-owned property in what is now Washington State. But many years ago, this was disputed territory between the British and the Americans, and no one was really sure who would end up being the owner. John Jacob Astor was a wealthy financier from New York City, but he knew the fur trade business. He saw the popularity of beaver pelt hats, and he thought if I could establish forts up and down the Columbia River, he could make a fortune. His plan was good, but carrying it out didn't work so well. He sent an overland party here to the Pacific Northwest that had tremendous difficulties. He sent a ship around Cape Horn. They had tremendous difficulties. He did establish a small trading company, and he did establish this fort and another one down by Astoria, Oregon, which is named after John Jacob Astor. But the whole operation really fell apart. The War of 1812 took place. The Northwest Company, a British company, took over, and later the long-established Hudson Bay Company took over this property. Heritage, and most certainly one of my favorite places.
I hope that folks understand that we're deeply rooted in our communities. We care deeply for the communities that we work for, and we want to see the legal system work the way that it's supposed to, and the way that the Constitution expects it to.
How this is going to negatively impact public safety. There will be breakdowns in the system, and I think when we talk to the public about it, it's going to scare them.
Watch all of TVW's award-winning shows on your time at tvw.org.
Good morning, everyone. Today, Washington State is once again standing up for the rights of consumers and enforcing Washington State laws against deceptive marketing. This morning, we filed a lawsuit against the Albertsons companies, the corporate owner of Albertsons, Safeway, and Hagen, who have for years been overcharging Washingtonians with a misleading promotion to buy one, get one free. It is a false and misleading marketing campaign. Our investigation found that these stores artificially hiked the prices of products in the days and weeks leading up to a buy one, get one free promotion. Then the stores lowered the prices within about 30 days after the deal is over. For example, an Albertsons in Gig Harbor hiked up the price of a bottle of olive oil from $6.99 to $10.99 just 1 week before a buy one, get one free promotion. Almost a 60% increase. And then right after that so-called deal was over, they dropped that price back down to $6.99. Our investigation found that this deceptive practice applied to all sorts of advertised deals on common products that every Washingtonian is buying, like bread and ice cream, coffee, cereals, supplements, and produce. Consumers walk into these stores, think that they're getting a bargain. They're being told that they're getting a deal. But in reality, they're just paying an inflated price for that first item. Washington consumers are already burdened by affordability issues, and we're not going to stand by and let them get fleeced by deceptive marketing and these types of practices. We've alleged that over a 5-year period, Albertsons companies overcharged Washington consumers on more than 3 million transactions. We estimate that they brought in almost $20 million by attracting consumers into their stores with these deceptive marketing campaigns. And they haven't just done this in Washington. They've faced litigation in many other states for the exact same type of misconduct. They've also previously settled a proposed class action here in Washington brought by plaintiffs when it was filed in 2023. These alleged actions are a clear violation of the Washington Consumer Protection Act. It is deceptive, and these deceptive marketing efforts need to stop, and consumers in Washington State deserve restitution. Consumer protection is one of our greatest priorities in this office. We've dedicated to making sure consumers get honesty and integrity and accountability in their business dealings. Those companies that are essential in business and in government or in any relationship transaction, these are based on trust. And Washington consumers deserve to trust the companies that they're dealing with. In this case, and in other consumer protection matters, we're using our resources to put power back in the hands of everyday people who just want to be told the truth and to be treated fairly. And the Washington Consumer Protection Act is one of the best in the nation, and we've been very active in enforcing that on behalf of our residents. So I just want to speak to that point more broadly before I take questions on this specific case. Because we live in a time when people are feeling taken advantage of by forces greater than themselves. And that feeling is legitimate because we know that consumer protection is under threat at the federal level right now as well. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has been gutted. They've dropped more than 20 cases this year, which could have covered up to $3 billion that was owed to consumers across the United States. The Federal Trade Commission has essentially abandoned its defense of its non-compete rule. And the Department of Transportation has canceled its rule requiring airlines to compensate consumers for delays and cancellations. And these are just a few examples. In Washington, I want Washingtonians to know that they have a champion in this office and a robust team that is dedicated to making sure that prices are fair and competitive. We have an office that will go after frauds and scams, posing as legitimate businesses. We have an office that will help ensure they aren't misled when they sign a contract, and that Washingtons will have opportunities for safe, affordable housing, and that their data is safe from misuse. Thank you, and happy to take questions.
We've got one in the chat from KUOW. How did the AG's office become aware of this alleged price fixing?
Well, we've certainly seen what's happened in other states and seen some of the plaintiff-driven cases, some of the individual cases that people have brought against Albertsons and other companies. We also get a number of complaints about misleading practices, so this is a continuation on that work.
How did you go about estimating the number of transactions, the dollar amount that's alleged in the complaint?
Well, you look at the number of transactions. We work with analysts to sort of come up with a rough estimate. You look at the pricing change across these products. So there's some extrapolation based on that research, but it's pretty data-intensive case.
Bring up just like the high price of everything right now, and just like how all Americans are really feeling the high prices. Do you think this lawsuit comes at, at we wouldn't want to say right time, but like, gas prices, airline costs, groceries, just how important is this kind of litigation to make sure people are not getting, messed around with it?
I mean, yesterday I was grocery shopping with my children, and my daughter was even commenting about how expensive our sort of regular weekly trip to the grocery store was. And so this is something that everyone is facing, something that I face, trying to decide what products and food to buy for your family feels more important than ever before. And, part of that is because of misleading practices like this, when people are going in, excited about a deal, excited about a bargain, and it's really nonsense. And all across the spectrum, we have costs going up on just the cost of living, housing, food. And so if there's a role for us to play, it is in this space. And, as much attention in this office that gets drawn publicly to other things, our bread and butter on affirmative cases is working on behalf of people in the Consumer Protection Division and the Antitrust Division to get at things that are most impacting individuals. So this is a good example. It's good timing, but we will continue to be aggressive in this space.
What is the suit seek retribution or damages, or how would it work?
Well, we'll have to prove that our claims are established, and at the end of the day, it'll be for a judge to decide what the penalties are. But first and foremost, we want Albertsons and their companies to stop doing this. We want those companies to stop lying to the people that are coming to their stores, and we would be seeking restitution on behalf of those people that were misled by these practices.
You talked about the Gig Harbor location for Safeway, but were there any other locations in our area that kind of you guys caught doing this price gouging?
The complaint talks about more than just that specific example, so there's a few that are highlighted. But obviously, when you're talking about 3 million transactions, you're talking about multiple stores, multiple locations.
It's not Joe Albertson's store or chain anymore. Is this indicative of just Albertsons or its parent companies as well?
Well, this is the parent company that owns Albertsons, Safeway, and Hagen. And so that's what our specific case is focused on. But this is a type of practice that we think is actually broader than this one case and more common in other areas as well.
What are the results of suit out of state?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Results of Washington out of state by others of the Attorney General.
Well, let me just talk about some of the plaintiff's actions specifically. I mean, Albertsons has already settled a case for this very similar type of misconduct. The hard part in plaintiff-driven cases is that in almost all of those cases, the individuals that are impacted have to adjudicate these cases through arbitration, which is a very expensive and time-consuming process to go through for individuals. The advantage of being a state AG's office is that we're not forced into that sort of long, drawn-out, expensive litigation, and we can represent all of the consumers who are impacted by this. But there are other states as well that have been successful in pursuing these cases.
Do you have any others?
Here for just a second, I asked you with the documents that the Center Square obtained. Do you think it's appropriate for your office to be giving lawmakers advice on how to break the state constitution?
Well, I would disagree with your framing of it, but it is very common for AG's offices to advise their clients on the law, the status of cases, analyzing prior Supreme Court decisions. It is something that we do on a regular basis. It is something that all of my predecessors have done. So yes, I think it's pretty common and appropriate.
A discussion of how to bypass the voters from your office, your attorneys in your office, and you're all saying this is what you need to do to attach this referendum to bypass the voters. Is that appropriate?
That's just wrong. If you look at the email communications, my Solicitor General and people in the office were talking about how this, because it's raising revenue, couldn't go to referendum. So we weren't trying to bypass the voters. We weren't advising the legislature how to do that. We were explaining what the state of the law is. So the framing of the question and the reporting of that is just incorrect.
How long has this investigation been going on?
Months.
Do you have any recommendations for consumers in the meantime?
Be careful. When you go into a store, I think it's really important to look at the details, to pay attention to increases on prices. So if you're a regular shopper at a location and you're going in and you're thinking you're getting a deal, I think it's best to ask twice and to be careful, and to go deal with vendors and companies that you have a trust relationship with.
You can't go shopping without going into a mall, strip mall, seeing other retailers with this type of BOGO deals. Buy one, get one free. Sometimes it's buy two, get one free. Are there other retailers doing this?
Well, listen, a buy one, get one free deal is not in and of itself wrong or illegal or a violation of Washington law. If it in fact is a deal, if it in fact is an accurate reflection of the bargain that people are getting. Again, just to be in very simple terms in this case, these stores would very deliberately, in the days and weeks leading up to a promotion, they would slowly increase the price on these products, which impacts everybody who's going in to buy that product. And then when they launch this promotion, people really do get excited and think they're getting a deal, but they're being lied to. So if it is a true buy one, get one free deal, which is not an uncommon practice, I must have seen a few references to such deals this weekend, then that is fine. That's not illegal, and companies can continue to do that. But in this case, it was misleading and a violation of Washington law.
Is there evidence people mentioned deceptive BOGO deals at Safeway, Albertson, and Kagan's, or was this limited to one branch?
All three.
Reading the complaint, it seems like these shenanigans could be exacerbated if more stores switch to electronic pricing. How concerned are you about the use of electronic price signs in stores that would allow stores to change the prices that they charge to different shoppers?
This is something we've been paying a lot of attention to, and there's been a lot of coverage about the use of algorithms to increase prices or to change the way buyers are experiencing their shopping experiences. It is not in and of itself wrong or problematic to use technology, to use AI, to have electronic price changes. It is problematic and potentially illegal in violation of Washington law and other laws if companies were using that individualized pricing to charge me more than they're charging you or vice versa. And that is something that we've been looking at very closely to see if those sorts of practices are happening here in Washington. Again, I mean, technology changes, and with that, the ways that companies operate in our state and across the country are going to change, and that sort of innovation can be good. But the idea that you would walk into a store and be charged more based on your personal information or personal data would be highly problematic for a host of reasons. Anything else? All right, thank you. Yes, thank you for coming.
Recording stopped.